Hey guys, it's Vandy as my own Carpet Vanguard deck profiles. Hope you guys enjoyed them. Time comes to grab us. This time we are starting the final week of deck profiles, or at least planned deck profiles, and we are starting off with, of course, Dragon Empire, Triumph Dragon, DZ set 5. So if you can't already tell, that means this final week of deck profiles is going to be the DZ set start bosses, because I purposely put them off since set 1 to do deck profiles on them. Technically I was supposed to do them in set 4, and then I just got lazy and I completely forgot about them. Well, to be more is that I got lazy and then I forgot about them. But then going on to this, we're now finally moving on to them because they finally got support. And of course, with Bushy giving them the new crossover cards from the Korokoro, still don't know how to feel about those. It does make them a little bit better. For the record, I'm not running Korokoro cards in here. I'm just like, this is their main decks focused on whatever support they got in set 5. So let's go ahead and get the start, shall we, and see what we got. First today, we have our Energy Generator. To all of these start deck bosses, these Energy Generators are incredibly important because their main skills require 4 energy and they would become useless without them. So Energy Generator, auto ride deck is a ride deck crest. You would ride plus current card into your crest zone. If you win second energy charge 3, continues to be up to 10 energy by begin ride phase, energy charge 3, and then act once per turn, energy bot 7, draw a card. All around pretty solid. You get a free 3 energy every turn. If you end up not having any energy uses at all, you always will. You end up using energy bot 7 to draw a card, but you won't, because for some reason Bushy chose to make the main units that introduce the energy gimmick Energy Blast 4, which means they have no synergy with the Energy Generator because they go 1 over the maximum limit, and not to mention the fact you don't get 4 energy every turn, you get 3 energy, so there are turns where you will have like 1 energy less than your main grade 3 requires if the game goes on long enough. So be careful when using your energy, but otherwise you kind of have to run this. You kind of need to run it for the deck, so one of in the ride deck. Moving on to our starter, we have Heated Blade R Dart. Grades of boost, finite 5k shield, 6k base, auto rolled upon by anything if you want second draw a card. Standard starter, but it's just free draw if you go second. You can make this any starter you want. I just choose to make it R Dart because that is the canonical starter for Triumph Dragon. Moving on to our Overtrigger, we have Dragon Deity King of Resurgence Drag Veda. Grids of boost, 50k shield, 5k power, Overtrigger in your deck. Reveal it as a trigger, move that card, draw a card, choose one of yours, it gets +1 for the turn, and reveal it during jail check, activate its additional effect, which you can choose one of Vanguards and stand it. Arm pretty solid, giving a free Vanguard stand is great, and while unfortunately Triumph Dragon's main skill is, the energy boss skill, it only lasts for the battle, it is not a once per turn, so if you have the energy for it and you're willing to gamble on it, Drag Veda can essentially cause you game because you have a Vanguard that's swinging twice with double critical on both attacks. That did actually win me the game once, and I really do appreciate it. So I like running the Nation Overtriggers as well, so obviously I'm going to run Drag Veda, but if you want to run Walnut for more consistent multi-attacking, or is for recycling and more crit stacking, or you want to run the Dark Overtrigger and calling, I can see reasons for all of them. Like I said earlier, I just like to run the Nation Overtriggers, and I do actually like Drag Veda, and standing it feels great. And it's just a Dragon main grade 3 plus the Dragon Overtrigger. It feels natural to have Drag Veda as the over here, so one of him. Moving on to our normal triggers, we have 3 copies of Flareveil Dragon. Grades of boost, 5k shield, 4k base, continues guard circle. If your opponent's Vanguards are grade 3 grade, at 5,000 shield. So the 10k shield is a draw triggers, helps increase the hand. This deck can kind of go into a hand problem depending on very specific scenarios occurring, aka your opponent damage starves you and then you auto rush from the get-go because you thought it was a good idea. Depending on the situation and the matchup, it is, and depending on the situation and matchup, it isn't. But the draw trigger helps increase your hand and make sure that you don't die from your own stupid decisions. And it's a 10k shield, so when the late game comes around and your opponent's swinging at your face with big grade 3 numbers, well, Flare Veil and hopefully that 5k makes the difference. So 3 copies of the draw trigger for hand cards. Then we have 8 crits, 4 copies of Rogue Beast and Negociatory, grids of boost, 15k shield, 5k power. You can make this any crit you want. I used to make it the crit here because it was the crit that came with Triumph Dragon, the start boss deck, so obviously running it here. Then we have 4 copies of Burning Flow Dragon, grids of boost, 15k shield, 4k power, critical trigger, auto rear guard, identify at least unit boosted, shove to soul, and choose one raise to get 2k for the part of the turn. Okay, cool. That 2k is not really going to make the difference unless you place 2 of them on the board, but being able to increase your power by 2k is great because it could possibly force out an extra 5k from your opponent's hand, and it also gives you a soul, and if you are playing a very specific way during the game, you might run into a soul problem, so having ways to fill your soul back up, if you end up running into that route, is nice. We have a total of 8 crit for pressure, because the Vanguard already has 8 crit on, or not 8 crit, but has a crit gaining ability on top of it. Following that, we have Gentle Breeze Dragon Dino Breeze. Grades of boost, 15k shield, 5k power, standard heal, and that's about it. It's just a free heal if you have more equal damage to your opponent. You're going to run any who you want, but just like Sunagosuri over here, this heal is here because it came out in the same deck that Triumph Dragon came out in, so obviously I'm going to run it here. Moving on to our normal units, we have 3 copies of Battle Monk of Thunderclaps Zenshin. Grade 1 boost, 5k shield, 8k base, auto rear guard. I think about this unit boosted. If your Vanguards are grade 3 guard of Triumph Dragon, retire this unit and put a grade 3 guard of Triumph Dragon as card name from your drop zone or from your soul and bot deck it. And and choose one of your opponent's rear guards murder. If you do not kill a card, draw a card. Okay, all around pretty solid because, you know, once you hit grade 3, automatically this guy's online as long as you have a Triumph Dragon in soul or in drop zone. Say, for example, you discarded one for discard fodder, so you can recycle that one back for Persona Rides later, or as long as you have a Persona Ride in hand, you could ditch that one and then use Zeshin to return it back to deck, so next turn when you do Persona Ride, you can search the one you sent back, but you can basically recycle your cards, you can keep your Persona Rides, keep going, and not to mention the fact you can kill rear guards and draw. The only downside is that if you don't draw a Triumph Dragon normally, or you don't constantly have 2 in hand, that most likely means you're going to have to pick one from his soul, which might not be ideal, but hey, you know what, it kills an opponent's rear guard and it gets you a draw if you don't kill something, so it's a nice 3-up. It's good for offensive pressure just for that reason alone. Then we have 4 copies of Construct Golem. So this is discard fodder A right here. This is discard fodder B or A, depending on if you have a second copy or not. So Construct Golem, grade 1 boost, Fat Kishud, aka base, auto drop zone. When you're grade 3 or greater Vanguard or Triumph Dragon, the card name is placed during your ride phase. If you do not have a copy of this on your board, Soul Boss 1 calls card to rear guard. If you call a card, energy charge 1. Okay, cool. This deck only has one other card that takes up soul, so being able to call this thing for pretty much no cost is great. And also being able to increase your energy as well, so you get a total of 4 energy that turns, so Triumph Dragon is technically free, is even better. I like Clay Golem a lot for that reason alone, even though he does have to be placed by his ability to energy charge, but hey, as long as you ride, doesn't matter where you ride from, you can use it. His second skill is also nice as well, where auto rear guard, and about this unit boosted a unit with Strife command in this card name, aka our very good supporting grade 3 who also has the ability to get extra criticals. You get to send this unit to soul and counter charge 1. Cool. It allows you to get some of your CB back, which is great. This deck, at least compared to the original version, does not have a CB problem. Also, to be fair, the original version had a really great way of just making your entire farm row have double criticals with good numbers, but this way adds a little bit more consistency with, again, being able to energy charge and being able to counter charge as well, and also basically refund the cost by getting itself to soul. All around, Construct Golem is a very good grade 1, gets energy, gets soul cards, gets counter charge, all for pretty much only 1 soul blast, so it's an easy 4 for me. Then we have 4 copies of Magn Dragon, grade 1 boost, Fat Shield, aka base, contains rear guard or guard circle. If your Vanguards are grade 3 or greater Triumph Dragon, this unit gets intercept and can intercept from back row, and it also has 5,000 extra shield. So essentially, once you hit grade 3, it's a 10k shield on both rear guard and guard circle, and it's a back row interceptor. This thing is amazing for filling the board because, you know, unless you have the Triumph Dragon and drop for this, you don't really want to use this, and you're only going to call one of these to board a turn. So Magn over here is a really nice way to fill up your back row. The only downside is once I call it to the back row, I tend to forget its skill, and 9 times out of 10 it just sits there until I then remember, oh wait, I have a 10k interceptor that I probably should have used on the previous attack to guard, and that extra guard that I may have lost earlier might just screw me over. So Magn Dragon is a very good grade 1 to have. You know, it's an extra shield, whether it's in hand or on rear guard, and if it is on rear guard, you can intercept with this, so as long as your opponent doesn't use something like Rokusei from Vargo to shut down your intercepts, you're good to go. Like I said, it's nice for offensive pressure, and also using it for defensive purposes as well, so 4 of. Moving on to our PGs, we have 4 copies of Guardian Monk of Raging Flames Monju. Grade 1 boost, 0 souls, okay, base contains Sentinel, you have 4 Sentinels in deck on opponent guard circle. Choose 1 mutes, it cannot be hit on a battle. If your hand has 2 more cards in it, choose a card from your hand and discard a standard PG. Nothing just basically means if this is only one of the cards in your hand, place it on guard circle, you don't have to discard, it's great, because that means you can be as aggressive as you want in the early game. So again, like I said in specific matchups, you know, call these if you really need to, just to aggro your opponent down, and then when your opponent eventually counterattacks you, throw down Monju, give them the middle finger, and you're good to go. All around, it's a very solid PG to have. You can run Turnbuckler Dragon or Plasma Catapult Dragon. They are not Plasma Catapult. I don't know why I always say that. Sparkle Rejector Dragon, they have the exact same skill as Monju. I choose to make him Monju because he came out close to the time of Triumph Dragon's release, but either way, regardless of what PG you run this as a 4 of. Following that, we have 1 copy in the red deck. Next is in the main deck of our main grade 1 for ride decking, Roaring Flame Beast Kawarlor. Grade 1 boost, 5k shield, aka base, auto and Rotopon by Roaring Thunder Beast Kirtrez, energy boss 2 to draw a card. Okay, so if you're willing to spend your 2 energies on, you know, the 2 of the 3 energies you get a turn and that they're trying to build up for Triumph Dragon over here, you can get a draw on it, which is nice because it's technically the energy generator, but cheaper. The only downside is that if you are going first, which means you don't get the free 3 energy from this, it essentially means you have to basically not call this so you can get the 3 for energy, so you're not losing energy doing that, because otherwise that could mess you up in terms of Triumph Dragon's critical ability going off, which is very important. So always be wary of that. And then the second skill, which is never going to go off because there's no way to superior call this, but if you found a way to superior call this, continues rear guard. During turn, your Vanguard's a grade 3 guard of Triumph Dragon, get 5,000 power. Okay, cool. 13k if you really found a way to call it, or you put copies of it in your main deck, which isn't a bad idea necessarily. But again, the ride deck skill, being able to draw a card, is nice. Again, the only downside is though, if you do go first, it does kind of hurt you and pretty much forces you to keep this in your soul and get the free energy charge 3, because otherwise you're not going to be able to use Triumph Dragon as freely as you want to. So one of Carolor on the ride deck, none in the main deck, because you don't really need in the main deck. Following that, we have 4 copies of Jaguar to Follow Hot, great turns at 5k shield, 10k base, auto when put on guard circle from hand, or discard from the hand while riding from the ride deck, CB1 RNG blast 3 to draw a card. Okay, so whenever you're not on Strife Dragon, you have extra CB, or you're going to have access to Construct Golem's countercharge ability on hand, you can just use that CB whenever you want to draw a card. Again, you never really want to tap into the energy unless you absolutely have to, so you're going to have to be very balanced with how you pay the cost. And then his other abilities, auto when placed on rear guard circle, if you Persona Road that turn, CB1 energy or energy blast 3, choose a grade 1 card without Sentinel from your drop zone, call it to back for rear guard circle. Okay, by CB1, it can get you an extra rear guard out, which could be very useful in the sense of like maybe you don't have another Trap Dragon in deck, so there's no point in doing the search outside to maybe give the Vanguard 10k. But there's a way to get your grade 1s back, so if you did Soul Blast this, hey, look at that, it's a way superior call it, way superior call Magn Dragon for guard power, you get my point. All around Fall Hot makes for a very good grade 2 in terms of defensive power because his draw can maybe make you draw PG or draw extra guard power, which combined with his 5k shield might be enough to block an attack. And if you end up having CB on the Persona Ride turn to spare, it helps you regain your rear guard, especially if your opponent nuked it on their turn. So 4 copies of Fall Hot, just a good supporting grade 2. Following that, we have 4 copies of Crushing Dragon Spinal Assaulter. Great tunes of 5k shield, 10k base, auto rear guard. Once per turn, when your opponent's rear guard is retired by the grade 3 guard Vanguard's ability, this unit extends its power for the turn. Okay, 20k once Triumph Dragon kills 1 rear guard. I wish Triumph Dragon could kill more rear guards on attack, considering his Energy Blast 4 is just that, and then plus the 5k and a crit, which isn't that good in terms of number stacking. But being able to turn this thing into a 20k isn't bad at all. It's just nice for offensive pressure. In worst case scenario, you call it in the early game, and then your opponent kind of does have a kill target now, outside of just attack the Vanguard, because they don't kill this thing might kill them, considering, it's a 20k swinger. So 4 copies of Spinal Assaulter. Just nice discard fodder if you need it, but also just good beat stick in general. Then we have 4 copies of Jaguar to Rashad. Great turns at 5k shield, 10k base. Continues rear guard circle. During turn, if you have a great 3 guard Vanguard of Triumph Dragon in the card name, this unit gets 5,000 power for each of your opponent's open rear, or for each of your opponent's rear guards retired this turn. Triumph Dragon itself only kills 1 rear guard, so I don't know what type of support they were trying to give this deck, but clearly they weren't doing a good job at it if it was supposed to be rear guard murder, unless you count the generic cards, and yeah, they got a lot of them. But essentially, this is only going to get, in this deck specifically, it's only going to get 5k, but hey, it's not bad, it's still 15k. And then continues rear guard, if your Vanguard's a great 3 guard Triumph Dragon, all your opponent's rear guards and column as a unit cannot move to guard circle or other rear guard circles, active on player's turns. Pretty much what that means is they can't intercept, and they cannot move their units forwards or backwards. So say, for example, they have a grade 3 stuck in the back row, and they have a grade 1 stuck in the front row. Well, I hope for their sake that grade 3 has boost because those units are not moving until Rashad dies. So all around, very solid grade 2 to have. He ends up locking down your opponent's board. He can get more power if you build your deck more on retiring via Triumph Dragon's effect or just retiring in general. Again, I don't know where they were going with this, considering only 2 cards of Triumph Dragon support actually involve retiring. Everything else just involves having Triumph Dragon as the name. But hey, is what it is. Still a nice grade 2 to have. Adds the shutdown pressure, and if you did build a full-on retired deck, adds a lot of offensive pressure as well. So 4 copies of Rashad, good grade 2 to have as support. Then we have our last grade 2 in the deck, one of in the ride deck, none in the main deck, of Roaring Thunder Beast Kitsurez. So unlike, Calor or Revere, who needs Fall Hot to superior call it, this one can superior call itself. 9 times out of 10, though, you're probably going to use it on this, though. With a skill, auto when upon by a grade 3 card Triumph Dragon in the card name, you may call its card to rear guard, but if you don't call it, you energy charge 3. So it pretty much gives you free 6 energy, the 3 that you get from this, and then another 3 you get from its own skill. The only downside is you don't get this call, and the reason why that would be a downside is because it continues guard circle. If your Vanguard's a grade 3 guard Triumph Dragon, this unit gets 10,000 shield. So 15k shield. The other problem with that is you're losing out on an extra rear guard you can call, especially if the opponent is, say, for example, at grade 3, and you have a lot of boosters because your hand is all triggers, but you don't have any attackers because all of these have avoided you the entire game. That used to happen with me with this deck. Then you might be in a problem and might have to call this, which would suck, especially if you use Calor beforehand to energy blast 2 to draw. So you always want to be a little bit careful when using these 2 skills because, calling it to rear guard and having a 15k shield is nice, but you might lose out on the energy blast 3 or energy charge 3, which could very much make a difference in how often you use Thunder Dragon throughout the rest of the game. So always be a little bit mindful of that, but it's still a nice grade 2 that has a lot of varying options for you. One can be played for defensive, one can be played for consistency. So I like having it in the deck. It's just a nice card to have as a 1 of in the ride deck, none in the main deck because you don't need it in the main deck. Then we have 4 copies of our backup grade 3, Strife Magn Dragon. Okay, I say backup grade 3. Normally when you say backup grade 3, you mean the grade 3 that you're going to ride if the Vayne grade 3 doesn't work. I mean backup grade 3 in the sense of supporting grade 3, where it's going to be on rear guard circle while you're on Triumph Dragon. Grade 3 to 13k base, auto and placed on rear guard circle from the hand. If your Vanguard's a grade 3 guard Triumph Dragon, CB1 draw card. Okay, increases hand. Only downside is it pretty much eats into the CB for only a free draw, but hey, it's still fine. And then auto rear guard when this unit attacks in anything, soul blast 1 time in the battle, this unit gets 5,000 power. And if you soul blast a grade 3 guard of Triumph Dragon, this unit gets +1 critical. So this is why I said before you want to have a Triumph Dragon in your drop zone for Zenshin, because if you have one in Soul, you're going to have to eat into it for, Strife skill, but, you just use Strife first, and then you use Zenshin to get the one that you just Soul Blasted back into deck. But hey, it's an 18k swinger that possibly has double crit. More likely than not, it's going to be on a Persona Ride turn, so it's a 28k double critical swinger, maybe with, this Golem boosting it, so 36k all around. Nice card for offensive pressure, and if you somehow have 2 of them on board and you have 2 Triumph Dragons in Soul, oh, you're going to have a fun time beating down your opponent, because that's going to be 3 units that have double critical. So all around Strife Command Dragon makes for a really good supporting grade 3, even though its power isn't nothing really amazing. It does have the extra crit pressure, so when you start drag taking triggers and shoving it on it and getting all of those Persona Ride bonuses, Strife Command Dragon definitely goes good for pressure, so 4 copies. And then we have our last grade 3 in the deck. We have in the main deck 1 copy in the red deck of Roaring Thunder Dragon Triumph Dragon. Grade 3, turn drop Persona Ride 13k base, act Vanguard Circle once per turn, counter boss 1, choose out your deck for up to 1 copy of this card, reveal it, put it to your hand and shuffle your deck, and this unit gets 10,000 power for the turn, so cool being able to be a 23k just for 1 CB and also decked in for a Persona Ride is great. And then Auto Vanguard, when it swings into a Vanguard, Energy Blast 4, choose an opponent's rear guard, murder it, and this unit gets 5,000 power and a crit for that battle. So it's a 28k double critical pretty much at all times with a rear guard kill on top of it. The only downside is that costs 4 EB, like I said, and you only get 3 EB every single turn via Energy Generator. If they're using it the turn that you have Kitsura, maybe 6. So you always got to be careful about your EB use, because typically you have 2 turns for free that you can use Triumph Dragon. After that, you got to be a little bit careful. If you end up going first, the 3rd turn might be your last turn that you use Triumph Dragon, so if the game goes to a 4th grade 3 turn somehow, you might be in trouble. Or if you went second, you could have that 4th grade 3 turn, but anything past that is really just relying on luck and praying that your opponent kind of just dies to whatever at that point, because you're probably not using the Vanguard skill. So again, being able to search the deck for, a copy of yourself is great, especially when Zenshin can recycle the copies that you send to drop zone, and also being able to technically infinite loop construct Golem, since he doesn't require that you ride from ride deck, and not to mention the fact that at least on attack, he can kill a rear guard, so possibly get rid of a pesky interceptor and make itself have inherent crit pressure and still be a 28k swinger all around without Persona Rides is still pretty nice. So I like having Roaring Dragon, Triumph Dragon as a 3 of the main deck, 1 of the right deck. His skill is not the greatest, but it's simplistic and it's really good for that. Without further ado, that's it for this one. I hope all of you enjoyed. That was the Triumph Dragon deck. All around, it is very solid to play. I still personally prefer the set 1 build, but only because the end goal was so fun, getting to 1 Persona Ride turn, having 1 column be Strife Dragon, having 1 column be Triumph Dragon, and having the other column be, most of the time it was Spinal Assault over here, and then having that unit boosted by Oplia, the grade 1 from set 1, that could make the unit in front of it have double critical if you Persona Rode that turn, which was nice, but this deck can't really do that without running into a CB problem or space issues. So this version just focuses on more consistency, and I mean, it doesn't really run into the energy problem too often. Like I said, I mean, it's still pretty much got 5 turns of energy going for you. You just got to be really careful about it. But without further ado, though, I'm going to this one here. I hope all of you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, join us on Twitch. I'll see you all in the next one. Don't forget to set up your Vanguards.